On this edition of Early Look, I'm going to be previewing the UFC middleweight title fight headlining UFC 297 in Toronto, January 20th, between champion Sean Strickland and Dricus Du Plessis. And if you've never watched the show before, I'm going to go through all types of information on Strickland and Du Plessis, and then I'm going to give you my prediction at the end of this video. Some of the stuff you may agree with, you may not. We can debate that in the comments. Would love to hear your prediction as well. Not just your pick. Would love to hear your actual prediction on how you think this goes down. Quick tail of the tape between these two. Strickland is 28-5. Du Plessis, 20-2, 30 years old compared to 30, 6'1" apiece, 76 apiece. So same height and reach. Very interesting here, and just a little bit of a age advantage here for Dricus, who's a couple years younger than Sean Strickland. Let's start first with Sean Strickland, the current middleweight champion. So I mentioned it there. He's got a 28-5 record. He is 6'1" with a 76-inch reach, so no advantages either way. He trains out of Extreme Couture, and he's a BJJ brown belt. He's got performance of the night 3 times against Brendan Allen, Abus Magomedov, and Israel Adesanya. He's got the second lowest bottom position percentage in UFC middleweight division history at 0.51, so 51%, I should say. 0.51%. He's got the 5th most significant strikes landed in UFC middleweight division history at 982. He's got 3rd most strikes landed per minute in UFC middleweight division history at 6.08. He's also got the 5th highest significant strike defense percentage in middleweight division history at 65.4. So Strickland doesn't get hit a lot. That's one key thing in this fight that I think we'll talk about a little bit later. Strickland did not have an amateur debut. He went straight to the pros way back in March of 2008. Made his UFC debut in 2014, March of 2014. He is 15-5 in the UFC. Some notable wins include Brendan Allen, Uriah Hall, Jack Hermanson, Nasruddin Imavov, and Israel Adesanya. Some notable losses include Santiago Ponzinibbio, Kamaru Usman, Alezu Zaleski, Alex Pereira, and Jared Cannonier. He's had a few layoffs in his career, going from Barnett to, where is it here? Luke Barnett to Santiago Ponzinibbio. There's a 267-day layoff. Going from Tom Breeze to Kamaru Usman, there was a 308-day layoff. And then going from Nordine Taleb to Jack Marshman, there was a 735-day layoff. That's because of the motorcycle accident he had a couple years ago. He's had a couple fights canceled due to injury. We'll skip those on this breakdown. He's had a couple close fights. We'll mention those quickly just because it does matter with the overall record here. The Luke Barnett fight that I mentioned there back at UFC Fight Night 41 in May of 2014. If you go back and look at the media scorecards for that one, 11 media members scored the fight for Barnett, 0 scored it for Strickland, so that could have been a loss for him there. The Tom Breeze fight was also split, but this one more unanimous. 12 media members scoring the fight for Strickland, 1 scoring it a draw, and 9 scoring it for Breeze. And then the Jared Cannonier fight, which was very, very, very close. That was back in 2022, almost a year ago. That was 13 media members scoring the fight for Cannonier, 7 scoring it for Strickland. So 7 media members did feel like Strickland should have got the nod in that one. And then the last fight against Adesanya, not really close. I don't think anyone scored that fight for Adesanya. It was all Sean Strickland. Let's look at Strickland's stats. We did make a quick reference to them there. Significant strikes landed per minute, 5.82. Striking accuracy, 41%. Striking defense, 63%, or 63.5, as I mentioned there. Takedown average is 0.92. Striking accuracy, 64%. And takedown defense is 84%. So a lot of really impressive stats there for Sean Strickland. And that's everything you need to know about the current middleweight champion, Sean Strickland. He's fought in different weight classes as well. Should mention that too. He fought primarily at welterweight before moving up to middleweight after a significant amount of time in the weight class. That's why he's fought guys like Usman and Zaleski. That was at 170. He's been fighting at middleweight since 2020. Seems like a much better weight class for him. But yeah, let's get to his opponent, Dricus Du Plessis. If you guys missed it, I already interviewed Dricus ahead of this fight. 20-2 record, like I mentioned. And if you want to watch the full interview with me and Dricus, it's on this channel. So I mentioned they're 29 years old. He's going to be turning 30 on January 14th. So he will be 30 by the time this fight starts. I mentioned that off the top. He is 6'1" with a 76-inch reach. He's a 2nd-degree black belt in kickboxing. He's the former EFC middleweight and welterweight champion. He's got performance of the night 2 times against Trevin Giles and Robert Whitaker. He's got fight of the night 1 time against Darren Till. Also, like Strickland, did not have an amateur debut, went straight to the pros in July of 2013. He had his UFC debut in October of 2020, which was against Marcus Perez, a fight that he won in the very first round. He's never lost in the UFC. Some notable wins include Brad Tavares, Darren Till, Derek Brunson, and Robert Whitaker. He's 5-0 in the promotion. And 6-0. My bad. He's got six wins in the UFC. He's had a few layoffs going from Marcus Perez to Trevin Giles. There was a 273-day layoff. Going from Giles to Brad Tavares, there was a 357-day layoff. And he's already fought twice this year, and he's going to be fighting early next year. So nice schedule. Basically, since the Tavares fight, he's been pretty active. He's never had any major injuries. He's had a few visa issues. That's why we haven't seen him maybe as active as he would like to be. And like Sean Strickland, he's fought in different weight classes. Dricus has fought 16 times at middleweight, 4 times at welterweight, and he's fought a catchweight at 176. His stats are also pretty impressive here. If you look at them, Dricus Du Plessis, 6.95 strikes landed per minute. That's pretty exceptional. 55% striking accuracy, so he does hit the target more often than not. Strikes landed per minute, 3.79. Striking defense is at 53%, so he gets hit a little bit. Takedown average, 2.72. His takedown accuracy is only 50%. His takedown defense is at 40%. We'll see if Strickland throws a few takedowns here or not. But yeah, pretty overall impressive stats here for Dricus Du Plessis. Let's go to the odds right now. We have a few odds on this fight. Let's have a look. Right now, you can see that Strickland is -148, about almost a 2-to-1 favorite, about -150, and you can see that the odds are pretty damn close here. Dricus being a slight underdog in this fight, around +124, 122 on depending on the books. And then if you look on Tapology here, as far as the fan voting goes, you've got 53%. So the fan voting tells a different story. You've got 53% of people picking Du Plessis, 47% picking Strickland. This honestly is one of the toughest fights that I've had to break down in recent memory. There's been a lot of good fights, but this one in particular, it's just, I could see this going both ways. I really could. And I'm not going to play contrarian here. I will give you a actual pick here. But I do think this is razor close, and I think there's a lot of questions that need to be answered that we will get answered, hopefully, in this fight. So my official pick for this fight is going to be Dricus Du Plessis by decision. Now, here's why I think he gets it done. Now, this is a 5-round fight, and I know what you're probably thinking. Can Dricus go 5 rounds? I think it's possible. I think that nose surgery, I think you saw in his last fight against Robert Whittaker, he looked like a bat out of hell, and he was just from the opening bell, just completely aggressive, and I think that's a pace that I think he can keep up. I'm kind of banking on that. I do think the nose surgery had a lot to do why he slowed down in those other fights with Darren Till and some of the other wins that he's had in the past. So I'm kind of banking on that. As far as Dricus getting it done in this fight. If you look at Dricus, I would argue that he can land more powerful shots than Strickland. He's got knockout power. Strickland has knockout wins, but I don't think he has the type of power that Dricus does as well. Like I said, I'm taking a bit of a guess on Du Plessis' cardio in this fight. I am banking on it holding up. It may not, and that's where maybe Strickland could take advantage. That's what I mean about the fight being able to go either way. Strickland's tough to finish. You know, one of the things that people were on and on about, and I remember a lot of people picking Abus Magomedov against Strickland in their fight because of the fact they thought that Sean Strickland was easy to finish, because Alex Pereira, of all people, finished him in the first round. I think we know now, since we've seen both of them have a couple fights since then, I think we know that Pereira, yes, he can knock out any middleweight at any point. I think that's entirely true. But I think Sean Strickland had maybe one of the worst game plans you can ever have, which is like, I'm a better, striker than a kickboxer. And he paid the price for that. But that's not typical of Strickland. Like, the only other time he's been finished was against Zaleski at welterweight, and I think a lot of that had to do with the weight cut. I think he was more susceptible to getting knocked out. He's fought guys with knockout power like Cannonier. Imovov's got some knockout power. Abus has knockout power. Adesanya, we've seen him knock out Alex Pereira. He didn't have a problem with them. So that's why I don't think we'll see Du Plessis finish this fight early or anything like that. What I think is going to happen in this fight is I think Du Plessis is going to land the harder shots, and they're just going to go back and forth. I think this is going to be one of the fights of the year. I think these two are going to go at it as much as they can. I think Strickland's durability will make this fight very intriguing and entertaining. I can see Strickland taking some of the rounds later on, especially as Dricus possibly does slow down a bit. But I think that early damage that Dricus is going to inflict, and this is again a guy in Strickland who doesn't get hit that much. So Dricus is really going to have to go in there and make sure that everything's on point. But what it boils down to me is this. I think Strickland's win over Adesanya, very unexpected, but I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that Izzy was not the aggressor. Dricus is going to be the aggressor in this fight, and I think he is going to bring it to Sean Strickland, but I think he's going to have a hard time hitting Strickland, but I think some of the shots he does get off will be significant. On the flip side, I don't think Strickland's going to do anything of any sort of damage or anything like that to Dricus, and I don't think that Dricus is going to be a guy that's going to have, going to be timid or not have that killer instinct like Adesanya kind of did in their fight. What it really boils down to for me is the win he had over Robert Whittaker. I mean, listen, there could be a school of thought that Whittaker's on a decline or whatever, but we've never seen Whittaker get run over like that other than the first fight against Adesanya. And I'm talking strictly at middleweight. I know people are going to be like, well, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson knocked him out. Yeah, I'm talking at middleweight. At 185, we've not seen Whittaker look that bad. And Du Plessis just ran right through him. I was so impressed with that performance. Now, he is coming off an injury, so Strickland a little bit more active, but even so, I still think that you can't ignore the performance he had over Whittaker, and I think that's really Du Plessis coming into his own. I think he's in the prime of his career right now. And I think just that little X factor of him just, really giving it to Whitaker makes me think that he can win this fight. Now, could Du Plessis have a problem in not being able to hit Strickland much, and Strickland just has the better cardio and wins the decision here? I think that's entirely possible, but I'm banking on the fact that Du Plessis will land some good shots, and that's going to look good in the eyes of the judges, and he'll slightly edge this out. I think this is going to play out similarly to the Jared Cannonier fight, with Du Plessis edging this one out. I think it's worth a shot playing this fight goes the distance. I know this is crazy because both these guys do like to finish a lot, but I just think in general, I think this is going to be razor close, and I think it's going to be one of those fights that we're going to want to see a rematch after they go toe-to-toe, because I do think these guys are very evenly matched in a lot of different ways. But I think the one difference, in my opinion, and again, I know some people would maybe say this about Strickland's cardio and saying that's the factor. To me, it's the power of Du Plessis, and I think that's going to serve him well in this matchup, and I think he does land just a few more shots than Strickland, and that's going to look good in the eyes of the judges, and he's going to take home a decision in this fight. So I want to know what you guys think in the comment section below. Who do you think is going to win this fight first, and how do you think they're going to win? Do you think this fight goes the distance? Do you see an earlier finish? Do you see Du Plessis finishing? Do you think Strickland finishes? I mean, who knows? I mean, I think if a Strickland finish comes, it'll come later in the fight. I think with Du Plessis, if he finishes, it might come a bit earlier, but I really think these two are going to beat the crap out of each other. I don't think there's going to be any side that's going to be afraid to engage, and I think this is going to be potentially a fight of the year here. At least I'm hoping so, because I'm going to be cage side for this one, covering this one in Toronto, so really excited for this fight. Let me know your prediction in the comments. Follow me on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, @Lynch on Sports. If there's any other fights you want me to preview that are coming up in the next little bit, would love to hear your feedback in the comments of any other fights you want me to break down. But yeah, my official pick is Du Plessis by decision. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.